I'm the Access to Justice Project Coordinator for Terrorism and Lies in Greece. And since I'm a lawyer as well by formation, I think it was fitting that I will moderate today's panel. So let's start with our first speaker. I'm going to present you Mateja Durovic. It's the court from the European Court. He's a judge in the Court of European Court of Human Rights representing Serbia, and we are very honored to have him with us today. So Mateja, the floor is yours.
Just 5 minutes, no?
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's really my great pleasure and great honor to be here. Of course, needless to say, and whatever I can say is in my own capacity, that will represent the views of the court. But you know, the topic of the AI is something, it's something that has always attracted me a lot of attention. And it's always very interesting, that when us lawyers have to deal with new technology and AI, generally speaking, with technology, because so many of us went into studying law to run away from engineering and technology, these kind of things, and now we are all faced with it. And when you talk about the application of new technology kind of in the judicial system, and I think that that has kind of some good and some bad kind of of course I think, and of course on the one side maybe foster the access to justice or people, at least is always a internal problem to secure access to justice to people who need to access to justice on the one side, but also on the other side technologies presenting many new challenges. And when we kind of talk about using of new technology and applying, it is kind of our task always to kind of make a proper balance between on the one side supporting, enhancing, developing use of the new technologies. That's kind of on the one side, and then on the other side we need to be very careful and very kind of cautious that the use of new technologies we still kind of have equal level of protection of certain fundamental rights and certain kind of fundamental principles, certain values of a legal system of society, irrespective of the kind of the type of technology that's being deployed. And kind of when we talk about in theory, it's kind of easy to achieve. In practice, it's kind of quite difficult. And I'm going to give you some of the examples and some of the challenges to see this in practice. And yeah, of course, I mean, you probably would like to hear about these cases in the case law of the European Court of Human Rights. Unfortunately, I can tell you not because I don't know, but there are no any cases because as like it takes some time for a case to reach Strasbourg to be decided, so it's at least a few years. And new technology is exactly just starting. So we are still kind of looking forward to receiving the cases. So far, we have some something connected with this, like mass surveillance and application of these cameras to kind of follow people to see the art, but that's more or less in connection with Article 8 and data protection, not so much really proper AI. But on the other side, we do have cases, with kind of this misusage of the AI and like kind of reliance too much on AI in some very developed democracies. And I'll have two examples. One of them is, the case of, post office scandal in the United Kingdom, which was a big issue with, that was a kind of big thing with the latest budget of the UK, because, so much money will have to be paid as like compensation, where basically, again, usage of the new technology software was kind of used to identify who has committed fraud, and, quite a few people were wrongly identified, which led, to serious circumstances, some of them even committing suicide, family problems, divorces, etc., because the software kind of identified wrongly that some of the employees committed suicide. Similar case, and again in another very kind of developed democracy in Europe, which is the Netherlands, where we had a problem with child care benefit scandal, where again like software was kind of algorithms were used to kind of identify potential frauds, and again there was a lot of issue with discrimination because those people who were identified were typically those with kind of who were the immigrants themselves of second or third generation immigrants due to their names. Again, like wrongful kind of findings. What these two examples tell us a lot about new technology. They tell, and in both cases, there was really strong reluctance to kind of to simply confirm, to kind of confess that there was a problem. What do they tell us? Why are they very good examples? They tell us that as humans today in this digital age, we believe that as humans we are sinful, we are making mistakes, but that the technology is really perfect and does not make mistakes. This is kind of very important thing that we need to learn. So in that sense, how does this apply, for example, to the AI in the judicial sector? Well, we need to be very careful. Huh? We must not take it for granted. We must always check it, even if we cannot rely on it, because AI does make mistakes. It's not kind of, something that's completely without any potential, without any capacity to make mistakes. And that's something we need to be very, very careful. And that's, of course, when we talk about, algorithms, AI, that's something that's always trained by the humans. And, we are all full of biases and, that makes kind of mistakes. And that's kind of another problem because, even in kind of judicial sector, if you kind of use, and I mean, this test in the United States, I'm not going to kind of to refer to those, but it was kind of proven that, there are also biases and the other problems from the perspective of discrimination if you kind of rely on the AI as kind of a judge and to make decisions. It's kind of one aspect. Another very interesting aspect when we talk about, AI enhancing kind of justice, and we do see kind of, many examples, these developments of different programs, different systems, for example, Singapore and some other, jurisdictions. But what is common for all of them is they are all from rich countries. They are kind of developed economies, which are kind of really kind of developing these different softwares. Why is that? Well, because the usage of these new technologies is actually something that is kind of quite expensive to develop and something that kind of requires a lot of, economical means, etc. Why is this kind of also kind of interesting challenge from the perspective, AI in judicial sector? Well, the question is if kind of this development and usage of the AI will represent kind of an additional a point to this polarization and this distinguishment between kind of developed countries and those developing and underdeveloped countries, because those developed countries will be able to afford and are able to, this is happening now, to afford better access to justice, to the kind of new technology, to these kind of systems, and that's kind of very interesting to kind of look at. I had to also kind of, because I think it was yesterday, when we talked also about AI and vulnerable groups and kind of in this kind of in the legal world, I think it was yesterday that Australia, if I'm not wrong, it was yesterday because they prohibited usage of the social media for like children below the age of 16. In the age, this digital age, there are always identified different groups which are being particularly vulnerable from this AI, and children are typically identified probably as the most vulnerable, together also with some elderly population and some other categories. But it's also very interesting, how should we proceed in this context? This kind of prohibition of the application of AI, something very good. In that sense, we kind of classify it together with kind of dangerous products like tobacco, like alcohol, and what will this result in practice? I'm not criticizing this decision. I actually think it's actually good. But I'm more playing the devil's lawyer to think how this will kind of enforce in practice. Because, the world has changed so much in this context of, development of new technologies. All of us have two different kind of lives we're living. One is kind of, digital life, artificial life, and the other is still our old-fashioned real life. And that's something that, definitely also affects the access to justice, judicial systems, and, that we have these kind of parallel worlds. I mean, I can also make you every year when we talk about digitalization, there is some hot topic. And, for example, 2 years ago, there was a metaverse, a totally parallel world where we have all these kinds of things that are happening in the real world, happening in a kind of in a metaverse, in a kind of parallel digital world. And, there is always this kind of question about, let's say, if you can get an Hermes bag, in the metaverse, the question of, whether you can sell it, how you sell it, the transfer of the ownership, then may God not allow it, after like the death of the owner, what happens with the succession, etc. Also kind of usage of, the judicial system for these kind of, situations in the digital world. Of course, what I want to emphasize is the very end, because I just give it 5 minutes, but us lawyers will love to talk. I mean, when we talk about, this artificial intelligence in the legal world, in the judicial system, whatever, we're still at the very stage where we are testing it, and we are trying to find mostly the kind of the not even the answer, but we're still trying to identify the questions. What are actually the questions that we have in connection with these new technologies that are deploying? What are the potential dangers? And only once we kind of manage to identify these questions, we can then talk about providing the answers, in particular, to regulation, etc. So, I mean, exciting times are definitely ahead. I mean, What's very important to say, that definitely, same as all other parts of the world, judicial world should enhance the usage of the technologies. I mean, that's something that you kind of definitely can enhance the access to justice, can kind of definitely improve certain shortcomings, the existing ones. That's kind of on the one side, but on the other side, we need to be very careful and very cautious that still certain fundamental principles, fundamental values still need to be protected, irrespective of the new technology being used. Not that kind of thing. And I think that's also very important to remember, and that's why there is more and more talk about this human oversight as a very important element of the AI. Technology does make mistakes. Okay, thank you very much.
I suggest to leave all the questions to the end so that we can proceed with our next speaker, if that's okay with you. So you're nodding, so yes. I present you Ms. Laura Andrei, judge from Romania. Who's yours?
Thank you. I'm judging the Bucharest Court of Appeal and also trainer at the National Institute for Magistracy. I will try to present you in a very short time, like 5 minutes, in a mathematical way, as a judge can be mathematical, let's see. The Romanian experience in the field of using digitalization and AI in our work. So, the first step is the AI and digitalization in the legal information. So we have a large database, with all the laws, all the decisions, all the courts. I think you know the LexisNexis tool. So we have something similar, which is, let's say, law file in English. It's letter change in Romanian. And it's a tool who help us and help lawyers also to have access to all the cases, to all the digital files, and to see all the jurisprudence across the country. The Regius, like Regius in English, it is the official database which is run by the Superior Council of Magistracy in Romania. And this is more complex. We have tools to find each type of cases, each type of statistics, each type of small decisions, but it is a database which is not include Supreme Court decisions. These tools help us also to ranking and retrieve documents, to have a citation we can use in our work, and also the ontology of all the type of cases. The second direction of use of digitalization AI, it is to have electronic file and to have electronic management of files. All the files are created in a digital form. All the flow, it is regulated in a digital way. We have a random allocation of all the cases to the judges. So it is not possible to take a file and give to this judge, Judge Andrei. No, it is the ordinator which allocate each cases in each court of Romania. All the internal workflows are through ordinator, and everybody can have an electronic access to the file through a special password. It is a special password for the lawyers and a special password for the judges. I, as a judge, can access all the files across all the country. For the lawyers, it is only typical case one by one. Third, digitalization in court management. Let's see, I am the president of Bucharest Court of Appeal. I have all statistics through the ordinator. I have all the programs who help me to make an allocation of resources. If they are human resources, financial resources, I have all the tools in an electronic way to identify the indicators of performance and to see how my court is working. Because in the final frontier is to have an efficiency, activity, and to have costs they are reliable for us. We are working today to have an electronic cost for each type of cases. Also, support for our decisions. It is support because we have all the relevant cases, all the relevant decisions, and we have a similar extraction of arguments, but the first, it is the speech recognition software. And the speech recognition is okay for me as a judge. I dictate my arguments and I have one Word document and the final decision, but also it's okay for clerks. We have all the audience, they are registered, and let's say I'm a clerk, I have the registered audience and I translate it in Word and I have a paper document which all what has happened in the court. Obviously, we have to have anonymization for each decision. In database registers for lawyers, they have two ways to access the decisions. In case individual cases can see all the data, but if I want to make a research concerning all the cases, as a lawyer, I have access only to anonymized decisions. As a judge, it is full access. Oh, and the final predictive justice. Let's say there are some tools for the lawyers, and also in the special program Law 5, you can identify each type of decision for each type of judge. So let's say you are a lawyer, you come in court in front of me. Through the Lex5 software, you can find all my decisions in your individual case. And you can see, okay, Laura, it is like 50% to and 50% no. And let's see which type of arguments she used in her decisions. And you come in front of me, and you give me all my arguments in the precedent decisions, and you can convince me, I think, more easy to have a good decision for you. This type of tool is used basically by the lawyers, by legal departments, but also can help me as a judge to find the similar experience of judges across the country and to see which type of case, which type of decisions they are making, and to copy a little bit their arguments. What about the online dispute resolution? I think you are familiar with Latvian experience in the small cases. Basically, they are small cases in a small amount of money, which are regulated by the ordinator. And you have a decision made automatically by the software, not by a judge. This type of experience is also used in Canada in the similar cases, like very small cases. In my opinion, it is risky to have this type of resolution of cases, even we are talking about small affairs, because we have some basic principles in law, which are access to a court, adversarial principle, equality of works. So be careful about this. But in pandemic time, we have passed to another level, virtual courts. I don't know if they are judges in the room, but during the COVID pandemics, we have been forced to work in virtual courts. We have cases which, in child protection field, in criminal cases, which requires urgent decisions. And this makes us in Romania and in the global world to have virtual audiences and virtual courts. Me, in my court, with my laptop in the front, the lawyers of the child at home, with the laptop in the front, the child in a special room, also in the laptop, and everything all the flows of proceedings via virtual court. It was an experience? Yes. It's working until now? Yes. So it is better for in criminal cases, and most of the experience it is better because they are arrested in penitentiary. We are in the courts. We have an addition via regist, and it is fine. But I think we cannot renounce to have the classic courts and classic judges. What next? I don't know. Yesterday I think it was Martin who said, we as a judges, we are all the time more centered, focus on us, on ourselves. This type of experience in Migratia Romania show us that we try to change this type of perception. This type of approach, it is like more to see the citizens, more to see the beneficiary, and less my homework as a judge, less my, let's say, Olympus mountain of the judges. What next? I don't know. Maybe I can give you a floor with some idea which my son it is an aircraft engineer. So it is more mathematics than me. And we have discussion about digitalization. They said to me, oh, I think in a few years we can have a robot judge. What do you think? We are going through a robot judge or not? Thank you.
I don't know if there's the audience. I have a lot of questions. I said it in my last. And we can go to Mr. Tóth, finally. Tóth is the pronunciation.
Yeah.
From Hungary.
Hello everyone and welcome, and I'm happy that you stayed for the second day as well. My name is Péter Tóth. I'm a legal engineer, that's a thing, in a private practice in Budapest. It's called Panagiota, and I'm just the person in between lawyers and the tech people. So my task is usually to implement tech solutions for lawyers, because what we discovered, what our position is that lawyers lack the efficiency that the 21st century offers. And we are trying to make more efficient, make the work-life balance better by reducing the time they need to spend with menial tasks. And by doing this, we are redesigning processes, we are introducing standardization, automation, and by doing this, we are also using AI. We have a strong practice in developing AI tools, working with different kinds of AI, and so it wasn't just ChatGPT that brought us here. One of my colleagues has been in the AI industry for the last 7 years when it comes to AI, and we are working with NLP. So we have we are in the on hands part of this discussion. How we make it work? How we make it work for lawyers? How we make their work more better, their lives better? And what we discovered is what the use of AI brought about is how little we know about law, how law works, how lawyers work. For example, we are developing a tool that reviews contracts, perhaps lawyers review contracts, and it's fairly simple. If you take this task as a lawyer, it's one of your basic tasks. You are given a piece of paper with a lot of letters on it, and you need to check whether it's okay for your client. And this is where the problems start to develop, because we do not really have standards for contract reviews. What is the quote-unquote okay for my clients? Or how do they represent my client? And the thing is that if you start just unpacking this task, you will face like a 30-step process that you will need to automate, and you need to start checking which one is good for AI, which are the tasks that where AI shines. And it turns out that it's quite limited. Why? Because we lawyers like to think that we use legal logic, because we are this very refined individuals. We are using deduction, we are using induction. This is what we've been told all the time in legal theory, in university, and so on and so forth. But it turns out that that law in itself is not a purely logical exercise. We are relying heavily on text, on linguistic tasks, and this is where the current large language models shine. So our task is to transform legal problems into linguistic problems, and then AI can help in this. I'm not saying that AI can solve every kind of legal problem, but if it's linguistic, it can definitely help and definitely can pre-tune at least the task for you, and by doing this, reducing the time you need to spend with these tasks. Yeah, and next up, what we also discovered that we lawyers use a lot of legal concepts. It's kind of natural because we learn a lot of things. When I tell you what's a contract, what's an agreement, you all have something in your mind. An AI algorithm doesn't have anything in its mind. It doesn't have a mind. Just let's make it clear. It mimes, it mimics how humans speak. And this is why whenever you are using language models, don't expect anything anything logical, because even if developers claim that they know logic, they somehow devise algorithms that can mimic logic. So again, if we are concentrating on the linguistic part, then this is where they can apply. However, as I told you, law is partly linguistic. But we even if we are talking about the linguistic part, as I told you, there are these mental concepts that we can use. For example, we cannot really transform the meaning of fairness, equity, or justice per se to a linguistic algorithm, because we have some kind of mental concept of what it is. But if you look at really high level court decisions, this is where the fairness, the equity, the justice comes into play, and this is something very, very human that we cannot really transform into text. We can define it, but if I give you a definition of fairness, it will be just, we all know that, yeah, we could debate for days or months to find a perfect definition of fairness, and for a language model it would still not be enough, because how we learn what's fairness is through examples. So in this case, for example, all machine learning is quote-unquote all machine learning is a lot better because it learns the context in which fairness is used, it brings us to an interesting part of the use of AI in court decisions, because whenever most clients want us to devise some prediction algorithm that can I win this case, will I be the winner or not, and that's the silver bullet that's really hard to find. If you look around the market, there are no off-the-shelf or very limited off-the-shelf predictive algorithms, because it's hard. And we don't know yet why. Is it because there are not enough published court decisions to train an algorithm, or is it because if we publish a court decision, we would need all the background, all the paperwork, all the witness testimonies, all the sentiment of the witnesses that the judge feels that do not really transpose into the decision. Is it a problem that it's not transposed into a decision? It brings a lot of questions, but let's see what the future will bring. I'm pretty optimistic about it, admitting that AI won't solve everything in the legal field. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question, Mateja. How does the court prepare for the whole AI future?
It's a very good question, because lawyers I think are generally considered to be quite conservative, and I think that when the kind of this new technology started really becoming the main thing some 10 years ago, it was always the question, like your son has mentioned, robots will replace judges, robots will replace lawyers. Well, that's the answer also to your question. AI will only replace those lawyers, those judges who know how to adapt. I think that's what's very, very important. So we need to properly adapt, and and like efficiency is also very important. Like lawyer Tóth has mentioned the context of we live in a very efficient age, so there is there we need to be more efficient. And how, again, how does the court work? This continuous education, following. But the problem is, I think we heard a bit also the two colleagues about that. There's so many developments, there's so many new programs, softwares, AI that can use. So there's always a question what to use, what to rely on, what direction to develop. And these are still, again, I think there are a lot of still questions to be posed. But just through adaptation, continuous education, and embracement of the new technology, you cannot how is it? If you cannot win it, join it, no?
Yes.